Just specifically on the subject of deforestation, we're told that forests and trees provide oxygen. So how are we, how exactly are we causing deforestation, biodiversity loss, and species extinction? And again, what is the specific concern about that? Is it the oxygen from the forest? Like, and why, what is biodiversity loss or species extinction? How does that affect us? So those three things: deforestation, biodiversity loss, species extinction. How are we creating this with our diet, and what concerns you about it? Is it just the oxygen from the forest? Just could you elaborate?
Well, the grazing land that's on Earth, that's not how the Earth looked when we arrived on the scene. So we have deforested land all over the planet. And we're doing it currently in the Amazon and elsewhere, for the very purpose of raising animals, often ruminant animals. So right now we're chopping back the Amazon for the stupid purpose of growing soybeans to feed to cows, or for directly having cows graze on that land. You know, it's hard to imagine anything more foolish than that. So you have biodiversity loss when the animals lose their habitat, and you have it when areas are fenced off to raise cattle or sheep, and then you have the ranchers kill the predators of the animals they're making money off. You know, it's all part of the same web of foolishness of just devoting so much of the earth to eating animals that we shouldn't be eating in the first place because we're natural herbivores.
Yeah. Yeah, you know, in the US, 47% of the entire lower 48 is devoted to food production. And of that, a little over half is related to just grazing, and that produces, you know, a cow can use an acre of rangeland for about 16, 17 days a year. All the rest, she has to, she and her calf have to go elsewhere and occupy a larger land, a larger land area. So it's incredibly absurd. And I made a calculation of you know, how much I don't want to dominate the discussion, but by sharing again, but there is an incredible you know, somewhere between 1 and 2 orders of magnitude, just to be simple, you know, a factor of 50 or so more food that you can get while rewilding half of that 47%, fully rewilding half of the 47. So that's like a quarter of the entire lower 48 that you completely give back to nature. And with the rest, you arrange agricultural land, not the way it is done now, which is very, very suboptimal, but in a way that is optimal in terms of both reducing emission and maximizing nutrient retention. And you can feed all the population with as much protein and far superior, nutritionally superior diet on about 10% of what you're using now. Instead of 47, 4.7. That is dramatic. And you know, what the damage we do to biodiversity due to climate change, that we're not going to solve anytime soon. But at least we can give them back the real estate and hope that they use it in such a manner that they thrive. And some of them will not thrive, but most will. So that, I think, is the most reasonable to do. And for that, we will not be raising cattle the way, John Wayne depicted in the Westerns. Okay, that was then and now is now. We can't do it anymore. It's as simple as that. It's just like pants that you wore when you were 5 don't fit anymore. And nobody really thinks that that is so earth-shattering that you need to discuss it to death.
Okay, Stacy, would you like to ask a question, and where are you from?
Am I unmuted?
Yes.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area of California. And thank you all so much for this excellent panel. My question, okay, so here in the States, climate change is very much a partisan issue. The industries that are responsible for the emissions that bring about climate change, anthropogenic climate change, animal agriculture being a primary culprit. These industries are massively investing in convincing the voting public to oppose good policies at the national level all the way down to the local level to curb these industries' destructive practices. So, and protecting industry from government regulation is a right-wing darling of an issue. And what we end up here in the States is followers of one party lining up behind the mantras that are chanted by the Republican leadership figures and digging in whenever they're presented with scientifically demonstrated facts about climate change and the actual causes of it. So how do each of you panel members approach this problem when facts and data and scientifically sound policy only trigger these groups to resist and to dig in even more rigidly? So how do you communicate when reasoned communication is exactly what they fight against?
Actually, that's a good point.
I'll try to take a stab at that. The reality is that today, for the most part, the politicians in the Democratic Party acknowledge anthropogenic climate change and say we must do something about it, and they focus on things like encouraging solar investment. And for the most part, the majority of the Republican Party leadership denies anthropogenic climate change. But, I may prefer one side to the other, but the reality is we're not going to beat this problem with more solar investment. And the Democrats do not address the problem of animal agriculture and land use. So really, you have both parties that are really ignoring the problem. President Biden passed a bill that has a tremendous amount of investment in green energy, clean energy, I should say. But I think it's doomed to fail as a strategy if we're not changing our food systems. So I think neither party has much to be proud of here. And so I put my energies into trying to get people to change the way they eat. And if the population would change the foods they buy, the people can lead the politicians, because I don't see the politicians taking the lead here.
Yeah. Today, the Supreme Court of Switzerland found in favor of plaintiffs that sued the government for essentially infringing on their right to a healthy life by failing to contribute to climate change mitigation. Now, think about the way society addressed smoking 30, 40 years ago, and the way it is now. Ultimately, charlatans like Ted Cruz or Josh Hawley can, wave their arms all they want, but ultimately reality has a funny way of catching up even to the people living in Texas. You're not immune from reality simply because your address is Texas. So they will realize that, that people like the senators I just mentioned, they're just simple charlatans that have nothing good to offer, nothing productive to offer. And I think that reality will take care of the problem. Hopefully, we'll get rid of those charlatans and replace them with somebody who actually can do something productive. But even if not, even if it's the same old pseudo leaders, they will be forced to change their tunes. Whether it's going to be fast enough, that I'm not promising anything. I fear that it may not. But they are doomed. They have nothing but last year's ice to sell, and it's melting.
Dominique, would you like to ask a question? And where are you from?
Hi, my name is Dominique. So I'm in French-speaking Canada, so Quebec. And earlier today, we had a presentation from Paul Shapiro, the CEO of BetterMeat.co, which makes meat-like products using fungi and mycelium. And it's a really fascinating industry. And I believe that as many examples were explained, things change when a better technology appears, because the number of non-vegans is a lot bigger than us little group of vegans, and we want people to change their eating habits. But I think that meat is such a important food in culture and everything that we all know, that the only way I believe that it's going to change is going to be if a better technology comes, if it's the same taste, if it's cheaper, if it's easier. So what do you guys think about fungi-based meat products?
I'm all in favor of it. And I want to make a distinction between that and what you sometimes hear about, which is called lab meat, which I think is a fantasy. But meat made, anything you want to call a meat patty, whether it's made from sweet potatoes and nuts or whether it's made from fungi, I'm all in favor of it. And that is real. And I haven't tasted Paul Shapiro's meat yet. It's not widely on the market, but I'm rooting for it. And there's no reason why it shouldn't be very healthy.
Yeah, yeah. I think that you will be surprised. I share your view about the singular importance of beef and meat in general in culinary in various cuisines. At the same time, when I grew up in Israel, there are two populations. There's the Palestinians and the Israelis, and they're basically indistinguishable people. But only the Palestinians would buy my beef when I was raising cattle. Why? Because back then, the Palestinians were significantly better off on average than Israelis. Of course, now it's exactly reversed, but back then it was the case. So two identical people in every respect, one eating routinely beef, the other basically not eating at all. Why? Because of cost. I would like to believe that what happens in Israel and Palestine is not that unique or distinct from what can happen elsewhere. If it costs the consumer what it costs society, the consumption will drop dramatically.
Okay. Could each of you sum up your final thoughts that you want to leave us with? Glenn, why don't you go first, then Gidon, and then Gerard?
Well, the thought that I would like to emphasize is that we are raping the earth, overfishing the oceans and bottom trawling the oceans and destroying phytoplankton populations that produce oxygen and sequester carbon dioxide. We're overgrazing the earth, and we are destroying forests and eliminating biodiversity, all for the purpose of eating food that isn't even our food. We are natural herbivores. And so the insanity of doing that, the insanity of creating all this damage in order to have heart attacks and to be the most obese population on Earth and to have an epidemic of type 2 diabetes from our fatty Western diet is just, it's all patently insane and unnecessary. So we have to, it doesn't matter what avenue you look at it from the avenue of health, sustainability, concern for the animals, concern for the climate, it all comes to the same conclusion. Eat human food. Human food is whole grains, fruits, vegetables, legumes, fungi, nuts and seeds. That's human food. I've been eating it practically all my life now. I grew up eating McDonald's, but became a vegetarian at 17. And I'm in excellent health, and I recommend it to everyone. Just eat human food, and that's our only hope to reverse climate change.
Thank you.
I think we should definitely let people do whatever the heck people want, so long that they pay their way. You know, if you want to contribute 5 times more than you need to emissions, or 10 times more to loading dead zones with more reactive nitrogen, sure, be my guest. You want type 2 diabetes? Enjoy dialysis. By all means, you want to do it? Do it. Just pay for it. And pay for it both in the real environmental cost and the real cost of caring for you once you develop all those degenerative diseases. We should not abandon anybody, but we should definitely strive for an economic system that does penalize ostentatious use of resources and that rewards more judicious use. That, I think, will go a really long way toward not solving our problem, but making it significantly more tractable.
Thank you. Gerard?
Yeah, final comments. I think that we need to stop hiding behind partisan issues. We need to stop blaming the other. We need to, each of us, start thinking for ourselves. I mean, you know, there'll be all the processes. There'll be if we include the real cost of meat, it'll go up dramatically. Politicians aren't the problem. They just follow the people. So if the people change their mind, then the politicians will change their policies. So each one of us, if we want a habitable planet for our grandchildren, we need to start thinking. We need to stop hiding behind partisan beliefs. We need to start looking at the world as, okay, well, if I'm in a supermarket, that beautifully wrapped plastic beef cut, should I get that? What is the outcome of me buying that thing? We need to start thinking for ourselves. The information's out there. It'll be coming through more and more and more. But it's like smoking. You rarely see smokers these days. And in the future, it'll be the same as eating meat. You'll have to go to Chinatown to get a steak. So the planet cannot support that. You know, and you'll feel it, not in well, you'll feel it most in the extreme weather, and the extremes are both hot and cold. The polar vortex is slowing down, so we're going to get hot and cold now. The weather systems are being not being separated the way they used to be. So we're seeing more variability. So, as I said before, we humans are slow but not stupid, and I think that we will start to think for ourselves and get with the program and keep the world for our children. Simple as that.
Thank you very much. Glenn, how do we stay in touch with you, follow up with your work and your books?
I have a website, glenmerzer.com. People could contact me through that. My book on this subject is Food is Climate. I have my 2 other recent books are Own Your Health and America Goes Vegan.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay. And Gidon, how about you? How do we stay in touch or follow up with you?
Oh, you just Google my name, you will find my email. It's not a secret. And yeah, that's one of them. I don't really spend that much time on LinkedIn, but yeah, I mean, I have academic websites. You can find me.
Thank you. And Gerard, how about yourself?
Yeah, Eating Our Way to Extinction is available for free on YouTube, and there's been a recently released 36-minute version also available for free on YouTube. So you can find out all about it there.
Okay, there's the movie.
That's the one.
When did the movie come out?
The 36-minute version is out now. So you can watch it in the 1 hour 22 or the 36-minute version. And it's a pretty powerful. They use celebrity quite effectively. They got quite Kate Winslet doing the narration. She's got a beautiful voice. But all the facts are there. So yeah, just YouTube, Google it.
Okay, thank you. Well, thank you all so much. I'd like to unmute the audience so they could also thank you. We really all appreciate you guys spending so much time learning this and sharing this critical information with us.
Thank you very much.
you.
That was
Thank you.
excellent.
Thank you.
Congratulations for all your work and service.
Presentation. Thank you, Glenn.
Thank you,
Yay.
Steve. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Glenn has a podcast.